All right, we're going to do a little business corner on Dwayne Johnson.
Get in the corner.
And chronologically, this movie actually comes before Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. So our programming has lied to you because we did that episode before we did this. But, 2017, we're basically in the golden era of The Rock at the box office. The Fast and Furious franchise was huge. San Andreas and Central Intelligence were very big in 2016. Also, Moana is in 2016.
Yeah.
And at the same time, he's the lead in a scripted HBO series. So it's insane. He had 3 different reality competition TV shows.
Oh.
The Hero, Wake Up Call, and the Titan Games. He had his, HBO show Ballers, where he is the lead for 47 episodes across 5 seasons from 2015
What could that
to 2019.
possibly be about?
It's him as a former football player who's now an agent.
Yeah.
And it was just Entourage, but for football. Like Mark Wahlberg was a producer.
Yeah.
And
But was it as good? Entourage was good.
I don't think Entourage was good.
It was enjoyable.
I don't know.
I enjoyed it.
I have no idea. I've never seen either. I've never heard anyone talk about Ballers, but I tried to, I put this out on Twitter, is this a thing? This is like those Bruce Willis movies, like when Bruce Willis was mentally not there anymore and people were taking advantage of him and bringing him over to Bulgaria and filming him in a desk for 3 hours and then cutting and spreading his scenes throughout a movie.
When was this?
This was the past 5 years before before his family realized what was happening and made him stop. But no, I mean, is this you get to film with Dwayne for 2 days and you just cut his scenes and spread them throughout a series?
It's just him walking.
How can he make a TV show where he's the lead actor on a TV show and also make multiple movies every year? It makes no sense.
He does not like his children or being at home. I don't think he sits still. I don't
what
think he can.
What are you talking about? Being a daddy is the most important thing in the world. He also has on NBC Young Rock, where he is in it and he is the executive producer, and it's a show about his life. You get to see him in 4 different periods of his life with actors playing him at different ages. And the framing device of the show is him in the year 2032 running for president and telling stories about his life. And that is Young Rock, which ran for 37 episodes across 3 seasons on NBC before it was canceled.
Fuck's sake.
So, all right, let's talk about his business.
Oh, I'm oversaturated.
In 2011, when things weren't going so good, this is, in the aftermath of Tooth Fairy, he decides his career needs a reboot. So he fires his team, and I'm going to be reading extensively from an article by Stephen Galloway from The Hollywood Reporter, a 2014 piece called The Drive and Despair of The Rock. Quote, 5 years after Johnson started wrestling, a 2000 hosting stint on Saturday Night Live led to The Mummy Returns, which was followed by more than a dozen films, including 2005's Be Cool, 2007's The Game Plan, and 2008's Get Smart. Still, the star knew something was wrong. I was told that I had to conform to a standard in Hollywood that would get more work, better roles, he explains, which meant I had to stop going to the gym, which meant I couldn't be as big, which meant you had to distance yourself from wrestling. You essentially had to deconstruct yourself. For a while, he says he bought into that, in part because he did not have the high-level industry contacts he could turn to for advice. That's interesting, especially if he doesn't come from that world.
Yeah.
All his contacts are in wrestling, and right. I think the influence of Vince McMahon, we'll turn to that in a second. But Vince, who's just spent his whole career trying to break into Hollywood and never being able to.
Right.
Then that started to not feel good to me. It reached a point of, I'm not feeling authentic. After Tooth Fairy, says Garcia is his ex-wife and now business partner, we recognized that Dwayne was moving away from his core of who he was. First, they changed publicists, but it was only after a long telephone conversation with Garcia and business manager Howard Altman in 2011 that Johnson realized he had to go further. The real turnaround came after CAA put together Johnson's Fast Five deal, when he debated returning to the ring for the first time in years, a move his representatives at CAA strongly cautioned against. He would do so, return to wrestling in April 2011 for WrestleMania 32. No, that was not. No, that's 20. Sorry, Roman numerals. 28. That was when he bolted. On Vince McMahon's advice, Johnson spoke to William Morris Endeavor's Ari Emanuel, who flew to Johnson's Florida home the next day and invited him and Garcia to a meeting in LA with about 150 WME staff, including the man who would become Johnson's key rep, Brad Slater. Johnson was stunned by their enthusiasm and hunger, a hunger he shared. I felt there were bigger and better opportunities, he said. He says, I also felt there was franchise potential, hopefully multiple franchises in every genre, whether drama or comedy or action comedy. I thought, I want people around me who see this too. And if we fail, that's okay. We are going to fail swinging for the fences, end quote. So I know that's a lot, but it is just this interesting pivot where he's been on this certain trajectory with a certain team who are managing his career, who just don't seem to have the ambitions for him that he feels like
that's not
he
true.
deserves.
They were trying to turn him into a movie star. He doesn't seem to want to be one. He wants to be a movie seller. And see, he listed off all the things that were his best roles, but they weren't authentic because that's not what an actor does. You're not authentic when you're acting. You're acting as a different person.
Right.
And he kept being, he just wants to be him and that be enough in every single thing he's in, to the point that his fucking network TV show is just his life. What other person's done this?
Yeah,
I think Chris Rock. Didn't he do like Hate Chris or Everybody Hates Chris or something like that?
I didn't know that that's what that was.
I thought it was.
But this is so interesting that the acting performances we have praised of his are real acting performances.
Yeah.
Where he is playing real characters, not playing himself, but definitely channeling. I read this other piece that I didn't quote here, but I think it was from 2021, where he was telling the interviewer, like, I have lots of acting friends and they have all this stuff they say about acting, like the things they play on, the emotions they turn to be able to play the roles. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't think about it. It's just, I just say my words and make my faces and hit my marks. And I don't know if he's lying or if he's just totally delusional, because the best performances of his, we have pointed out, they all have in common this sort of body dysmorphia, which, I mean, I'm sorry. I know this is armchair psychology. Clearly he is not comfortable with a human body.
Right. And he's also not comfortable changing the one he's used to. Even if he's not comfortable in it, it doesn't know exactly what to do with it, or even understand like the tool he is wielding. He doesn't want anyone to tell him he can't be big anymore. I think his identity is so fragile. It has to be the same package he's always understood it to be for it to even make sense to him at all.
The movie Central Intelligence, which was a big hit, it's a very good performance of his. It's like the most successful comedy performance he's given. Mm-hmm. He's playing a very strange man who was a fat teenager.
Right.
And in that movie, there's a pivotal scene where he sees himself in a mirror and he sees the fat kid. And it's like this guy who looks like The Rock, but he still feels like a loser fat kid from high school. Mm-hmm. And that is clearly what drives him. And it's a very, very good performance. And it's like, clearly this speaks to you. It's so interesting that you are so unwilling.
Right. It's not like you have an acting coach with you right then when that's happening. You just are, when you're given interesting things to do that take you out of your comfort zone, you're really good at being vulnerable and being authentic. You just don't think of that as authentic because you think of you as this thing you've seen over and over again and this thing that people praise and the thing you're sure of. And if you change from that, you're worried people will not go down those paths with you.
So I'm so glad you point out the thing about authentic, because I just breezed right by that. But you're like, right, you're an actor. Right. You're acting. You're pretending. Authentic. Like I get, on the one hand, it sounds like, yeah, be authentic,
right.
Be you.
Be the roles you want to be. But the roles you want to be
fake.
are the ones where you feel safe and you're not scared. And all you're saying is you felt despair and depression because these roles made you introspective and think about things you don't want to think about, things you've stuffed way down, like with your dad and in your shitty childhood, and how the only thing you were allowed to be is this big tough guy. That's all. That's why you want to be distracted all the time. That's why you do 20 things at once. You stop for a second, you start to think about, why is this the only thing that makes me happy? And
why being a successful actor and being like the top box office earner for a few years would seem like, hey, you don't also have to be hosting reality competition shows and leading an HBO scripted series and developing a TV show and launching products and stuff. But He's like we said back when we first started the Summer of Rock. There are these characters like Arnold Schwarzenegger, his role model, who think like acting is too small for me. That's not enough.
But I think he also has this fear of not wanting to be trapped in one industry and being known for one industry, because it was hard for him to get, when you're under the thumb of someone like Vince McMahon and you've been pipelined into the arms of Vince McMahon, it probably is a little bleak and you're not sure you're going to bust out. And once you do, you don't want to be reliant on any one thing, one skill, one gatekeeper ever again. So let me never be tied down, and let me never even be totally present in these projects I'm in. I'll bet that business manager that he had at first was asking him to lock in, wasn't booking 100 things at once, was giving him the space to do these movies and think about these characters, and that felt really fucking lonely to him. And too boxed in. He's just not, he needs therapy.
That's an answer for a lot of things.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm saying
it's often the right one.
He's going to work himself into a grave because that's where he wants to be. He doesn't want to think about these things.
So you mentioned Vince McMahon, an underrated influence in his life, and the saga of Vince McMahon and the absolutely horrendous allegations against him, sexual assault and sex trafficking allegations. They're huge, too vast to really cover here. But basically, Vince McMahon resigned from WWE in 2022 because of sexual harassment allegations, but he didn't. He just resigned as CEO. He kept his seat on the board and was still the majority shareholder of the company. So he's still basically the power in the company. And then he just returned in 2023 and he said, I'm coming back to sell the company, which he did. He sold it to Endeavor, the parent company of UFC. And then they spun off a new company called TKO, which was the parent company of UFC and WWE. So now they have merged and they install Vince McMahon in the number 2 position in the entire company.
What a change.
Right. And people immediately were like, Vince probably had a better offer on the table and took this one because as part of the deal, you have to come along. Whereas if he sold it to another company, they'd have no more use for him. Mm-hmm. But when that happened, Dwayne Johnson joined the board of directors
of TKO.
Yeah. And he was given ownership of The Rock as a trademark. Oh. So 2024, sexual assault and sex trafficking lawsuit gets filed against Vince McMahon. The allegations are so horrific that he resigns in disgrace. And now he's like removed from being mentioned, like removed from the history, scrubbed from the archives of WWE. But according to NBC News in 2024, Vince McMahon was still in touch with both Dwayne Johnson and John Cena after his ouster. And Vince's wife, Linda, is currently the Secretary of Education in the cabinet of President Trump. Janelle Grant, the alleged victim of Vince McMahon, condemned Dwayne Johnson and John Cena for their, she said, supporting someone behind the scenes says way more than publicly denouncing them.
Or publicly supporting them.
But no, meaning look, you can say the right things in public, but now that we know like you're behind the scenes still his buddy, like that's way more significant.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just saying there's something doubly gross about it because at least if you're doing it in public, you're not trying to get away with something.
You have to own it, yeah. And Johnson has never said, like John Cena went on Howard Stern and like really stepped on his dick, basically saying like, well, like I still love Vince McMahon and like it's really complicated.
Yeah.
All of these wrestlers have abused children relationships with Vince McMahon where they view him as like a father figure they can't detach from. Mm-hmm. Look at Bret Hart to see like the most like tragic version of it. Anyway, just felt like we hadn't mentioned enough that The Rock's attachment to Vince McMahon and the sort of weird influence of his career. But back to The Rock firing his team, back to the 2014 article by Stephen Galloway. So after Johnson fired his team, it said, quote, since then, his star has soared. He helped propel G.I. Joe Retaliation to a worldwide box office take of $376 million, $75 million more than its predecessor, and boosted Journey to the Mysterious Island to a worldwide gross of $335 million, nearly $100 million more than Journey to the Center of the Earth. More impressive, after he joined the Fast and Furious ensemble in 2011, its earnings doubled, with Fast 5 making $626 million compared with its predecessor's $363 million. Fast and Furious 6 went on to generate a whopping $789 million. So the interviewer asks Dwayne Johnson just, what do you want? And he says, what do I want? I want the world. Then it goes on to say, quote, he chats happily about his non-working life, about the books he's reading, Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers, and Hillary Clinton's Hard Choices. The TV shows he's watching, HBO's Real Sports, Oprah's Life Class,
Life of Rock,
and Locked Up Abroad, and his love of fishing. I'm a passionate, hardcore fisherman.
When do you do it?
He also speaks openly of his live-in girlfriend, writer-musician Laura Hashian.
Stop.
He says of her, she embraced and loved me at my very worst and lifted me up to be my very best. And of his ex-wife and longtime manager, Danny Garcia, 45, whom he met as a student and they divorced in 2008. She's also the mother of his 12-year-old daughter, Simone.
I want video evidence of him fucking anyone. Anyone.
All right, we'll get
consensually,
on that.
both ways.
She oversees every aspect of his business empire, and her family has become his. Her brother Hiram is Dwayne Johnson's producing partner. Her husband Dave Rienzi is his conditioning coach. So that's also kind of interesting.
Yeah,
is they get nice how you're divorced but you're still friends, you're still working together, but like,
and I really like your husband.
Her new husband's now intimately involved in your life too. So sorry, just a tiny bit more. They founded $7 Production in 2012 to take very close control of his movie career. $7 is named after how much money Dwayne allegedly had in his pocket when he was cut from the CFL.
Didn't even need to know that.
But like, I often have no money. Who cares?
How about negative $420,000?
It's like when you read like financial advice books and they're like, oh, I was at my lowest. I only had $200 in my savings account. I'm like, savings account?
Well, just to be zero.
Plus.
Just give me zero.
A positive amount in your bank account.
I would love to be zero.
Yes, I would love to be. That would be the best.
I know, just like be just out on the lamb. Zero.
So in 2020, he launched Terramana Tequila. It's valued at $3.5 billion. Which is it really? He purchased the XFL from Vince McMahon in 2020 after its aborted relaunch got interrupted by the pandemic. And then in 2023, XFL launched for a third time and then merged with the USFL and formed the UFL. So he is a giant part of the UFL. He launched ZOA, brand new energy drink, in 2021. In 2022, he said on Trevor Noah's podcast that multiple political parties had approached him about running for office after a poll showed that 46% of Americans supported him running for president.
He's going to be so devastated. He's going to be so devastated when he steps. I don't think his psyche can handle this world.
He doesn't have it.
I know. I like, he's really going to have to get his hands dirty. He's really going to have to like speak up for himself. He's going to have to wrestle with his whole tie to Vince McMahon. All the things he's trying not to do and say publicly, politics will force that out of him.
Because let me just read this last part and then we'll discuss that. After that poll came out in 2021, he posted on Instagram, I don't think our founding fathers ever envisioned a 6'4", bald, tattooed, half black, half Samoan, tequila drinking, pickup driving, truck driving, fanny pack wearing guy joining their club. But if it ever happens, it'd be my honor to serve you, the people. He claims to have voted for Obama twice and said that
will be made public.
Did not vote. That is public. And then did not vote in 2016. But in 2020, he endorsed Joe Biden. Okay. But then in 2024, last year, always with his finger in the wind, he said he was interviewed on Fox and Friends. And this is when he started doing a soft, like anti-woke pivot. He said about his Joe Biden endorsement, quote, what that caused back then was something that tears me up in my guts, which is division.
The fuck are you talking about? You took a stance.
The takeaway after that, after months and months and months, I started to realize like, oh man, that caused an incredible amount of division in our country.
He's talking about him. Your fucking endorsement did no such goddamn thing.
I wouldn't do that because my goal is to bring our country together. I believe that in my DNA. So in the spirit of that, there's going to be no more endorsements. End quote. So,
you're going to have to pick a side if you run.
That's
unless you're the independent rock party. He's going to fucking do that. He's going to be the rock party.
So maybe you'll disagree, but to me, clearly he's a Democrat. He's just your standard milquetoast. I mean, yes.
He just doesn't like the blowback or the pushback from a very divided country not liking one or other. You were going to get half the people not liking it. Or
It isn't half and half. Look at the results of every election.
Yes, right. I know.
And he's like, oh, I wasn't expecting it to create so much division for me to say.
He's too much of a people pleaser, of a fucking no, guys, don't fight. He's too much. He could never. If he got into politics, it would have to be some sort of neutral position, which I don't even know if that exists. He needs to go to Switzerland. I don't know.
Well, his personality fits right in with the Democrats.
Yes,
of the neutral position you describe is where I think Democrats are. Is just like, oh, we just need to heal the divisions, and like our country is great when we are good. And all that.
Yeah, I want to reach across both aisles.
Yes, exactly.
I'm in the middle, reaching.
Whereas the Republican Party now, you have to be like fucking. You have to be heel rock. You have to be.
I thought you were heel rock. Okay, got it.
You have to like they've had Donald Trump. They don't want the fucking like watered down person like spewing pablum and quotes about how
he could never.
That's what I'm saying. Like he only could be on the a Democrat, and I kind of think that Democrats are destined to only have celebrities in the future because their brand is so tarnished. So maybe this will happen, but
I think he's just going to retire to some sort of like daily TV show situation, like a nighttime TV. Like that just seems like where he'd be happy, where he could ask happy things to happy people who are happy to see him.
But
he's going to be Martha Stewart. She doesn't sleep. She can't sit down. She doesn't like her kids. That's what he is.
Or Jay Leno, because he hosted the Tonight Show every night and then on the weekends went to Lake Tahoe to do stand-up comedy and never touched his Tonight Show money. And he said something like, the worst thing for me is if I took a vacation because I might find out that I like it. And he's like, no, I can never stop. Never, ever, ever stop.
Yeah, but there's something about Martha Stewart where she's a mogul, right? She has a brand. She sells things. She shows you how to cook things. She's a personality. She's a businesswoman. Like she does not stop. And she's like she runs her whole estate and she's like the lead gardener in it. Like she just knows how to do all of the things and she never fucking wants to quit. And her best friend is Snoop Dogg. That's so cute. So like, I don't know. I just could imagine him just busying himself as he gets older and it's a little bit slower in something where he can be a whole bunch of things inside of one thing.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Some sort of variety show.
Or an Oprah. Yeah, I'm sure he worships Oprah.
So Martha Stewart's smart in how she can be a segment where she's showing you how to do something. It's in a segment where someone else is showing you how to do something. She's just talking. It could be her on location. He just doesn't want to sit still. He can feature his kids or not. He needs to stay a very just pleasing household name. He needs to be loved. That's why he's never comfortable as a heel or a baby face. That's not what anyone wants.
Go to therapy, Dwayne. Learn.
Just go to therapy.
Yeah.